my friends, can you believe it's been a whole year since last year's National Hood Week? So make sure you go and find your favorite piece of clothing today and put the hood in the up direction. Then maybe go on your bicycle and pretend that you're E.T. You don't know, he was an alien back in the day. He was a little bit of a dick. But let's not worry about Steven Spielberg's from the 80s, and instead let's talk about Impact Wrestling, which has another big show on Saturday known as Turning Point. But how did they do when it came to their go-home show? There's only one way to find out, is to ask this guy, the finger of power. Let's up those downs for Impact. Don't call it TNA. Impact started with a doubling down on the fact that Johnny Bravo has been shot and we need to find who the killer was. And of course that should be the way. Imagine your priority list said anything else, like sort out wrestler contracts, push Rich Swann, discover a murderer. I mean, you're just putting the rest of the roster in some serious doolally. When that was done, we did move into tag team match territory, where we saw Tanille Dashwood finally teaming up with Madison Rayne. And of course, last week they'd been like, you want to be friends? I'm like, yeah, we should be friends. So we were going to see whether they were going to be a success or whether they were going to suck. And they sucked, but up. They were taking on Havoc and Nevaeh, and the whole story here was when everything was going okay, Tanille to Madison was all right, but when it fell apart, my word, did it fall apart. They couldn't do anything, they couldn't do shib, and it's the reason they went and flipping lost. I mean, Dashwood basically decided at the end, I've made a mistake here, so I'm just gonna leave you, Madison Rayne, to do your own thing. And Havoc was like, well, that's cool, I'll feast on your bones. She hit her with a pile driver, 1, 2, 3, which means they got together 7 days ago, and they'd already crapped the bed. If they want to win this tournament, they're going to have to do a whole lot better, but they're not going to win the tournament because then they basically broke up. I mean, sheesh. Tanille basically decided that she was better than Madison Rayne, so she's going to go and find a brand new partner. And I wonder who that could be. We're going to talk about it later. We then had a promo by the Good Brothers. Of course, they are taking on the North for the Impact World Tag Team Championships this weekend. And given it's a belt that they've never had under their, jurisdiction, doesn't make sense, they're not cops, but they never had those belts, they must win it to continue their dominance within the industry. And Ethan Page walked up, and him and Karl Anderson basically slapped each other for a while. There has been a lot of slapping in wrestling recently. Murder was in, and now it's back to slapping. Tommy Dreamer was also continuing his investigations, and he had hooked Larry D up to a lie detector test, and lucky for Larry D, everything seemed to be okay. He was then chatting to Cody Deaner, and Cody Deaner didn't even care about this. He was just so pissed off that he'd lost last week. Dreamer did point out that the problem was that before Deaner had threatened to kill Johnny Bravo, and then look how he's dead, but Cody promised he didn't do it. And that is a pretty bad investigation if you ask me as well. Oh, by the way, did you kill this guy? Nope, it wasn't me. Okay, you can go on your merry way. Come on, Tommy, readjust your head. The X Division title was then on the line, and this actually felt like quite a big deal because 1, Rohit Raju, the champion, hasn't lost in ages, but 2, the stipulation was if TJP wasn't victorious, he was never going to be able to challenge for that belt again. And it sucks to be TJP, because he got defeated, but this is getting up. TJP was in control for large portions of this, but because Rohit Raju is an absolute gimboid, he kept using the referee as a shield, which allowed him to be in control. And then there was this great bit where TJP died at Rohit, but he reversed it into a crossface, and then TJP had reversed that into a knee bar. It was smoother than my ass. Let me tell you, that ass pretty damn smooth. Of course, this was never going to end without shenanigans, because that's Raju's whole deal. So at one point, he just went and got the X Division title and said, I am going to smash this into your face. The referee did his job and went, no, you're not, and got rid of it. But unfortunately, he took his eye off the prize. Rohit booted TJP right in the balls, hit the running knee, 1, 2, 3. And this, my friends, is not justice in action. TJP can never challenge again, and Rohit Raju is still your X Division champion. Although he does have no friends. I'm massively intrigued to see who is going to take this championship off of him, because that's going to be a massive deal, and you may even be able to create a new star. Right, okay, we need to drop this money thing. It is going too far. But Hernandez is still hounding Fallah Bahh about this cash. And a small part of me was like, Hernandez, just go and earn some more. I don't care about it anymore. He also said, and Fallah Bahh, not only are you a thief when it comes to money, you also killed Johnny Bravo. He's like, no, I didn't. How dare you say that? Which is when Kira Hogan and Tasha Steelz came up and they were like, hey, we're with him. Hernandez, you need to shut up. He walked off probably because he was bored of all this. And at that moment, Tasha Steelz stole the money. And while I am kind of done with this storyline, I gotta be honest with you, I gotta be transparent, that really made me laugh. Why does everybody want this money so much? What are you gonna do? We then learned that the Rascals are being kicked out of the treehouse because they haven't been paying rent, and according to the rumours and the news sites, that's actually true, and they are leaving Impact Wrestling. Now that is kind of sad, but it's also maybe kind of exciting. Maybe they've got an awesome deal somewhere else. They're a very good tag team. They will do fine wherever they go. Again, we'll have to wait and see. Chris Sabin was then taken on AC Romero from Triple XL because, of course, it was Triple XL that absolutely whooped Alex Shelley's ass a few weeks ago. So now Chris was like, look, I know I'm a lot smaller than you, but I need to do this for the good of integrity. Then he got chucked around the ring. But up! It was pure big man versus little man stuff, with Sabin having to use his quickness and agility to get back in there. But if you can believe it, he actually won, and I didn't see that coming. And he also just brought things back to basics. When somebody is bigger than you keep kicking them in the head until they fall over, and then you can pin them, and that's exactly what he did. It's also what lumberjacks do. If they can't take a tree down with an axe or a chainsaw, they just boot it for a while, and eventually it timbers over, and they look at their muscly quads and go, I'm glad I did squats. Sabin then got ruined by Triple XL afterwards, but we're not done here, because later on Chris Sabin bumped into Jane Storm, and they were like, yeah, buddy, 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 buddy. So he's going to be the fill-in for Alex Shelley, and I kind of like that setup. It could give us some interesting matches. Also, it's just nice to see Storm back on my wrestling TV. Sami Callihan then kind of made some sort of arrangement with Chris Bay. I mean, there was a little bit of untrust there, but ultimately, because it is going to be Eddie Edwards versus Chris Bay later, Sami Callihan was like, I can be good for you, why don't you come into my team? And given what happens later too, I think we actually have a new faction here, and it is Callihan, Shamrock, and Bay. So it's the CSB, and that sounds like someone's going to knock on your door and try and sell you some kind of insurance thanks to this helpful pyramid scheme. Back to the investigation with Tommy Dreamer, and James Mitchell is just nuts. To the point, if it was James Mitchell who shot Johnny Bravo, I would just go, you know what, man, mistakes happen, we're just gonna back off. You do you, bro, we don't even care. Now, don't get me wrong, he was adamant he didn't do it because one, he would never use a gun, they're too messy, but also, he wouldn't kill Bravo because he would rather do different things with that virgin blood. That's what he said. He's well into virgin blood. I don't really know what that means. Well, I do, but what the hell would you do with virgin blood? Again, if James Mitchell is guilty, let him run free. When he was dead 2 weeks ago, he deserves some of his own time. It was then Eddie Edwards versus Chris Bay, because Bay kind of felt disrespected from last week when Eddie had just burst in when he was trying to talk to Rich Swann. And it was okay. And I get that sounds weird, but I was expecting more from this, and maybe that's on my stupid shoulders, I would completely understand. But after a kind of decent back and forth, Eddie Edwards hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and the twist was meant to be, he's more experienced than Chris Bay, and he got the 1, 2, 3, and he got the win. Now, it made me sad, because obviously this is the start of Chris Bay's push into the main event, and he's definitely ready for it, and he'll do great there, and I understand he's gonna have to go through some hurdles and some obstacles, I was just a bit disappointed. Maybe they're going to have the proper match on Saturday when it comes to Turning Point, but I can't help how I feel. I'm an emotional kind of a guy, so it's getting it down. What did I tell you about the CSB though, running around trying to get you involved in their pantsy rubbish schemes? Because basically when all was said and done, these three were kicking the crap out of Eddie Edwards, and they were kicking the crap out of Rich Swann, who tried to make the save. And Sami Callihan got his trusty bat and basically implied, do you remember when I basically destroyed Eddie Edwards' face a few years ago? I'm now going to do it again to the Impact World Champ. Thankfully, the Rascals came down to chase them away. And while you may be going, wait a minute, why would the Rascals be put in a spot like this? Well, I actually think it's just part of Impact giving them a nice send-off, because we then saw a chat with Rich Swann, the Rascals, and Trey Miguel, and they're going to have a tag team match next week on Impact, and then they're going to wave farewell. Kind of made me feel all warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. I'm never going to argue with that. And then we got to the story point that I was talking about 57 years ago. I mean, it doesn't make me any kind of savant, but Tanille Dashwood went to Jordine Grace and said, Jordine, look, I'm really sorry. Would you please be in a tag team with me? I'd like to win that tournament. Man, we went round the houses with this. And obviously Jordine Grace was a little bit like, well, I don't know, can I trust you? So they're going to have a test trial tag team match, which is a little bit weird. It's like, can you punch me in the face over and over again? Then I can decide if we're going to be friends. But maybe they'll get together. Maybe they'll fall out. The issue is, Tanille Dashwood can be a great tag team partner for that one fight, and then ultimately is probably going to screw her over. However, this is what we should be doing. And on the download, you should probably have them win the whole thing. I think it would be quite entertaining. And then Impact went nuts, and I both kind of love it and I'm kind of always astounded by it because it just comes out of nowhere, but they're always so dedicated to the cause. Because Deonna Purrazzo was cutting a promo and was like, look, I know I got to face Su Yung in a no DQ match for the women's title, but I'm absolutely going to win so everybody can just shut the hell up. And then Kimberly, obviously her sidekick, disappeared. Purrazzo went to find her, but instead found this bit of glass that in blood or red paint had I Think You're Alone Now, and I started singing that song, I think you're alone now, and that made me feel very chirpy about this, when as if we were watching a horror movie, Kimberly's body basically slammed against the glass. It kind of made me jump out of my skin. It also made it look like she'd been murdered by a serial killer, and because this was Impact Wrestling, I don't actually know if she's alive or dead. But I will tell you this, I really do appreciate their creativity and the risks they're willing to take. Dreamer was then chatting to Mitchell some more, and he was adamant that he'd know who did do this, so maybe Dreamer and Mitchell are going to become like some police buddy team and they're going to go solve this, when Havoc came in to be interrogated. And she was just a little bit too, well, she didn't really answer many questions for my liking, and she went, it was Rosemary. You should talk to Rosemary. Something there's not right. If your hand is in the cookie jar, you've probably been eating some cookies. And look, as we are doing all these interrogations, I think Tommy Dreamer should start being more like Cole Phelps from LA Noire. Do you ever play that? When you were interrogating people in that, you had three options. It was like accuse, believe, or doubt. And every time you pushed doubt, there was no doubt. Mr. Phelps basically turned to Braun Strowman and went, I think you did it! You're like, would you need to calm the hell down? I think Tommy Dreamer should start doing that, because it will make me laugh. We then, I think, had a match based on that damn money. That was too much down. Because Reno Scum, who are basically Hernandez's goons, were taking on Crazy Steve and Fowler Bar, and they just beat him up for a while and won. Reno Scum did this on Fowler Bar after that stomp thingamajig they do, and I bet Bar right now is like, man, I shouldn't have taken that money. I don't even have it anymore, and now I'm getting my head kicked in. Wrestling's crap. We then had the moment where Chris Sabin and James Storm got together and did a little bit of a hug and a little bit of a loving, and then Paul Willie Mack, he was being cleared for his match against Moose on Saturday when Moose arrived and absolutely wrecked him. And I need to say this, I think I've made a mistake when it came to everything with Moose and EC3. He really does feel like a top tier player now and he looks the part. Well, I would like to say I'm mistaken there. And if we are planning to make Moose the world champion, that ain't the worst thing in the world. We were then having our main event, which was Karl Anderson versus Josh Alexander, because the North and the Good Brothers are going to take each other on at the weekend. Yeah, it was fine. It was pro wrestling. Up. Once again, I kind of felt like this was more of an advert for that show, which is fine, that's what you should use your television for, but nobody really knew who should win and who should lose. So what did we do? It wasn't the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. It wasn't a distraction. It was entry number 3, the disqualification finish. I just think I'm getting a little bit bored of these now, even though it's not Impact Wrestling's fault and it's the wrestling business as a whole. Like if I watched football games all the time and never actually got a clear winner, eventually I'm just going to be like, man, it's getting a little bit dull. But Anderson was ready to hit the stun gun when Ethan Page just got in there to cause this DQ. And then, of course, both teams brawls and the announcer was like, oh, we're going to go to a tag team match at Turning Point. And I do think that will be really good. The North are a top team. You all know about the Good Brothers. But as for this, well, it was Wrestling 101. I suppose sometimes you can do Wrestling 101. It was fine. Or you could say it did the job. It's just a shame nobody in the match did. Wrestling humor for you there. I'll be here all week, and as always, overall, Impact gets an up because it's just such an easy damn show to watch. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of Impact, and are you looking forward to Turning Point at the weekend? Also, who the hell shot Johnny Bravo? Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com and read yourself some articles. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you very much for watching me as always. I'll see you soon.